Hi folks, this is John Ribeiro with the Catholic Schools Office of the Archdiocese of Boston, and today we're going to cover setting up an FM transmitter. Who knew you could own your own radio station? But if you follow FCC guidelines and you purchase a low-range, low-power transmitter, you too can be a radio star. Now, what's the purpose of an FM transmitter? Well, under the current social distancing guidelines, you may want to hold an event outdoors. You may even want or need to keep your folks inside their cars, in which case a PA system wouldn't work, and the FM transmitter will allow you to broadcast to all of those cars. One application might be that on the day that you're planning to have the kids come in to drop off school equipment and pick up their belongings that they left behind, that you set this up, and this way you can broadcast to their cars, whether it's speaking to them or playing music or whatever the plan is for the event. You're going to need a couple things to get started. A Bluetooth enabled microphone, a Bluetooth enabled FM transmitter, and we will review a couple of different configurations, and based on which configuration you pick, you'll need some additional optional equipment. And finally, you're going to need a vacant FM radio frequency in the broadcast area. So, where do you get a Bluetooth-enabled microphone? Well, as luck would have it, you probably have a device that can be turned into one. Your smartphone can be turned into a Bluetooth-enabled microphone. And if you can play music on a Bluetooth speaker, or if you can connect to your car's audio system, then you are halfway there. If not, then I suggest working that out before continuing with this particular tutorial. Now that we know that your phone can connect to a Bluetooth device, we need to turn it into a microphone. And for that, you're going to have to head over to wherever it is that you get your apps from and download a highly rated microphone application. I had to try out 2 or 3 of them before I actually got it to work. But don't worry, we'll be testing all of that out. Alright, so let's test out your Bluetooth microphone. What you want to do is to connect your phone to the Bluetooth speaker. Turn on the app that you just downloaded on your phone and turn the volume down to prevent feedback. Next, speak into the microphone and be sure you can hear your voice on the Bluetooth speaker. If it works, great, you now have a Bluetooth enabled microphone. If it doesn't, go back and ensure that your Bluetooth connection is working by playing music from your phone on that speaker. If you're sure that that's working, then go back and test out the microphone again. If that doesn't work, then try to troubleshoot the microphone app by visiting their help option either on your phone or online. And if that doesn't work, I would remove that microphone app and download a different one. As I said, it took me 2 or 3 tries with different apps to get this working for me. There are a couple of options when selecting an FM transmitter. The first one we're going to cover is a shorter range option of only up to about 100 to 150 yards. The sound quality was very clear once you selected the right frequency. You can connect a single Bluetooth enabled device to the transmitter. It was a pretty low cost, inexpensive. It only cost about $30 before taxes on Amazon, and it arrived quickly after about 5 days, so that was pretty good. Okay, here is the first option, and as you can see, there are 2 components. One is the FM transmitter, which is intended to be plugged into a car. The purpose of this is meant to allow you to connect a Bluetooth-enabled phone to a car that is not Bluetooth-enabled. And since we are not going to be using a car charger, we need the AC-DC converter to allow us to plug this directly into a normal outlet. The second option that we're going to look at has a longer range. It's a little bit more powerful. The range is about 200 to 300 yards. It did sound stronger than the less expensive version, and you can connect 2 audio units into it directly. It can also be connected to a mixing board for larger ceremonies. It did cost a bit more. It was about $170 on Amazon before taxes, And it did take a while longer to get to me, probably about 9 days total for both components to get to me. Here is the setup for the second option. As you can see, it's made up of two different components, the FM transmitter and a Bluetooth transmitter / receiver. The FM transmitter itself is not Bluetooth enabled, and so we needed to add the second component. I just want to point out that on the front of this transmitter, you can see that there are two input ports, one for audio, one for mic. You can use either one in our application, but in our case, I've connected the Bluetooth receiver to the mic input port. Now, I want to point out that in our application, we want to set the Bluetooth component to receive mode because it's going to receive the connection from our smartphone that's going to be used as a microphone. So even though we are transmitting, we want to set that Bluetooth transmitter receiver into receive mode, and you can see in the inset picture that I have the toggle switch set to RX, and that's for receive, and obviously then TX is then going to be meant for transmission. Now that you have all of your components, you need to determine which radio frequency you can use to broadcast. So there is a website, and we'll provide a URL in the description of the video for you to use to determine vacant frequencies in your area. As you can see, the result lists best, next best, and third best options for channels. And it also tells you how well they do, if they're okay or good or poor. In my testing, I've always been able to count on a frequency in the left-hand panel. I haven't had to revert to any of the frequencies that are listed in either of the other two panels. You want to test out all of the frequencies that are listed in that first panel. There may be more than two in your location, but you want to test out all of them to find the best one for your location. You also want to test out in the location where the event is going to happen. So the frequency, even if it's only a few miles away, is likely to be different in that location than it is going to be at your house where you first do testing on this. Additionally, the frequency might change from day to day. That was something I was surprised by. So the frequency that I find that's good for today may not be good for tomorrow. So that means that for your event, participants are going to have to be a little bit flexible and be expecting for you to send them the frequency that's going to be used on the day of the event, just to be sure that the best one is being used. Now I'm going to show you how to set the FM transmitter to the appropriate frequency that was selected. You hit the channel button, which takes you into the tuner, and then using the large dial in the middle, you dial to the frequency that we determined was available in your area for broadcasting. Once you have it dialed in appropriately, you can hit that channel button once again, and you are ready to go. Selected earlier. Now let's take a look at setting the frequency on the second option, FM transmitter. You need to turn the power on and then use the tuning buttons to tune up and down to get to the frequency that was selected. Additionally, there are volume controls on the left and right that also need to be turned up. Now you want to connect your phone to your FM transmitter of choice. On the left, I'm showing you what it looks like to connect via Bluetooth to option 1, and on the right, what it looks like to connect via option 2. In any event, you want to make sure that your phone is connected to the appropriate device. Next up, turn on your microphone. Just giving you a screenshot here of what it looks like for my application when the microphone is off and on. Now that you have everything connected and working, you want to try broadcasting on radio. So take an FM radio, set it to the frequency that's been selected, and give it a go. Once you're able to hear yourself on the radio inside, it's time to head outside to a car to see how far your signal will actually travel.
This old man, he played knick-knack on my spine with a knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone. This old man came rolling home. This old man, he played knick-knack.
Okay, I was about 100 yards or so away from my house when I started recording, and my daughter was inside my house broadcasting. All right, let's cover some troubleshooting tips. If you have trouble connecting to the transmitter, this didn't happen to me until I tried to broadcast to my car. And what I found out was that my phone and my car were trying to communicate, which was interfering with the connection to the transmitter. So you may need to have your phone and your car break up. They need to forget one another and move on, because now you're using the transmitter. If you're hearing static on the radio, try the next best available frequency. So even though one may be listed first, that order didn't seem to matter. I sometimes had to try out the different frequencies to find the best one of the best that were listed for the best sound to be heard in the cars. So as you're testing the frequencies, you may have a problem when you change from one frequency to another. And what I found was that I needed to disconnect the Bluetooth, then change the frequency on the transmitter and on the car, and then reconnect the Bluetooth to the Bluetooth phone to the transmitter, and usually that resolved the problem. You just can't leave the phone connected to the transmitter and change channels and expect that it's going to work, apparently. Finally, if you get to your location, you set everything up, you've tested it, and it's not working, what you want to do is check at that moment for the available frequencies. What happened to me was I went to a location, I tested it out one day, I went back the next day. The first day it worked just fine. I went back the next day to that location and attempted to use the same frequency. But for that day, that frequency was no longer valid, no longer available, no longer working for me. So I had to use those that were listed for that day, for that location. So you want to get out on the day of the event, test out the frequencies, make sure it's working, and then communicate that to your participants. All right, folks, that's all I have for today. I hope this was helpful. As always, please reach out to me if you have any questions or you need help troubleshooting this. And look for links to the products and the URL to find the Vacant radio stations in the description of the video. Thank you. Have a great day.